Hello, gals, guys, or otherwise. This is Rich, and today is the Witchy Book Club. So we are in the Inner Temple Witchcraft. All the details are below if you would like to get your copy. A couple things before we get started here. One, I already did about 20 minutes of this video, so I'm a little irritated because it didn't take. I messed with some settings on my OBS, and yeah, it kind of did not capture any of the video. It captured all of the audio. Um, so yeah, that doesn't help me any. Also, I was not able to get my old camera hooked up to my computer, so I got a new camera. Let me know. I adjusted some of the settings on on this one, and the reason I had to get a new camera is because I adjusted settings on the old one, and it doesn't work anymore. So that one's getting sent back because yeah, it's no good anymore. Also, this one comes with a ring light, but I have a light right above me, and I'm really rethinking of having that one on because I really look washed out. I don't know if I come closer to the computer, if it looks better. Like, does that look better to you guys? Let me know. Anyway, so that's one of the things that I'm doing here in the background, is trying to get everything set up so it's better video quality, better overall quality for you guys. And also for me, because I don't want videos that look like crap. I was also able to find a way to link my phone to the computer and my iPad to the computer, so I can technically stream from that right to my OBS and whatnot. And the only reason I'm not doing that, and I might do it in the future, with the phone, it's a little bit laggy with one of the programs. With the other one, it's like right on, and I get good video quality and whatnot with the iPad, so I'm not afraid of that one. But I really wanted something that I didn't have to have the iPad plugged in and or the phone plugged in. I didn't want to have to like be like, hey, where is this thing, and is it charged enough for me to do a video and whatnot. So I wanted to have an actual dedicated webcam that I can sit down, talk with you guys, and shoot a video, and that's that. um, and I didn't want to do the just the iPad way because I spent money on this boom mic, and I kind of like it. I like the sound quality that comes from it. So yeah, at least for now, it's here to stay. So anyway, we are in chapter 5 of the Inner Temple of Witchcraft. Again, I will have links below to Amazon. Now, I say again, I don't know if I mentioned it in this video, and anyway, or if it was in the one that just got trashed. But anyway, there will be a link for this book, the Amazon link. If you can find it at a local witchy shop, or a local bookstore, or secondhand bookstore, or something like that, if you can get it through those routes and kind of help the smaller, the smaller businesses and whatnot, always help them out. But I know, like, if you're in the situation like I am, you don't really have a witchy store around you, and since there's still a pandemic going on, probably not the safest thing for you to go out just to get a book. This also comes in a Kindle version that you can get through Amazon, so there is that. Let's review some of chapter 4, the intention ritual. If you look behind me, right here, right there, you see my little scroll from the intention ritual. I did get some realizations and whatnot that I did journal about in my journal. I'm not going to share those with you, at least not right now. Maybe in the future I will share those, but it only whenever things come forth from it will I look back and say, okay, if you guys remember this, this is what came through. Anyway, grab yourself some tea and sit on back because we're going to be here a hot minute. I'm drinking spice chai by Twinings. So, yeah. Anyway, so the exercise, the intention ritual went well. I did enjoy it. I got a lot of realizations. The one thing that I didn't like is the 3 pages thing. Journaling 3 pages. Some days I didn't get any journaling done. Today I haven't journaled at all. And yeah, that it's probably not going to happen today because by the time I get this done and uploaded and everything, it's almost bedtime uh, for me. And yeah, that's just how that plays out. But 3 pages a day, for the days that I did sit down and actually journal, I didn't usually get to 3 pages. It's hard for me to handwrite 3 pages, come up with things to write that are 3 pages long. A lot of it is like stream of consciousness of, okay, this and this, and this is what I'm thinking about now, and, constantly writing that stuff down. It's hard for me to get to 3 pages. um, as far as if I took around um, like a voice recorder, I could sit there and talk to myself for hours thinking through a problem, but to write it down is a lot more difficult for me. And I did write down my reflections on the intention ritual. So if you did that, how did it work for you? Did you enjoy the outcome? Did you get some revelations and whatnot? Did you enjoy it? Uh, did it give you something that you did not so much enjoy? Let me know. Anyway, so he starts off, and I just want to check something here. I'm going to have to pause here soon because I do have to get my steps in, so I get my 14 hours with my Fitbit. But we're going to do that in about 5 minutes. So whenever this buzzes, I'll get up and do a little moving around and then come back. Anyway, so he starts off this chapter 5. He starts it off with, witches do magic plain and simple, but defining what magic is can be much more difficult. I love his openings to his chapters. They're very intentional. They are to the point, and they are so very true every time that he has something like that. Whenever he has an opening, it hits hard, and it accurately sets up the chapter for us. He says later on, Crowley defined magic as the science and art of causing change in conformity with will. Love it. Magic has basic rules and structure like science. Yes. Whenever I am working to do a spell, whenever I'm setting things up and really giving it the intentional thought process that it needs in order to be an effective spell, I think of the science behind it. I think of, this causes this and the ripple effect of that, and what happens to this, and does this affect that? I think of all those things, and to me, that's science. How cause and effect happens and what the chain reaction will be going down the line. Anyway, moving on to the top of page 72, magic is learning to work with change, with the forces that create change, and to shape the outcome to match your intention. Love this. And it actually gives me a vision of, like, there's a stream going along, and if you step into the stream, you're going to get washed away. Kind of like the old Oregon Trail game. If you go into the river, it's going to carry you along, and you can, ferry your way down the river, and whenever you get off, you're going to die of dysentery or some crap like that. I hated that game. I never won that game. Anyway, it made me think of going into this river. And you're learning to work with the change and the forces that create change. That is the actual river, the change of life that you're going into. The the magic is how to shape the outcome to match your intention. So the outcome for me in this scenario would be knowing when to get off and how to make that work for you. So, yeah, you're going down the stream, but knowing how to make that stream work for you, that you can get to a place where you can then get out of the water safely and continue on your journey. And that sentence of magic is learning to work with change, with the forces that create change, and to shape the outcome to match your intention. That's what it made me think of. He goes on to say in the next paragraph, to my friends and family not involved in witchcraft, I describe a spell like a prayer. Excuse me. That is a common thing for people to associate spell work with. And, it's something that a lot of magical practitioners say, especially early on of, and I just noticed I have a fuzzy. Anyway, that is a common association that people make with spell work and prayer. He goes on to say, a spell is a similar petition to the prayer. Sorry, let me start that again. A spell is a similar petition to the powers of the universe, but uses a different method to send the petition out into the universe. The principle and basic mechanics are the same, like the science part of our definition of magic, but the execution is different. To further the analogy between prayer and spells, I come from an old European Catholic family. My ancestors prayed to various saints to fulfill an intention. Each saint has a different province or specialty. In witchcraft, different goddesses and gods are petitioned, each having a different realm of rulership in life. And I love the way the comparison that he has for the way that saints and gods and goddesses can be viewed and the similarity that they have. Give me 1 second. I will be right back. Okay, I got my Fitbit steps in, so we are good to go. And I hit my 14-hour mark. Yay. Okay. Anyway, so let me just take a drink here. Like I said, I love the way that he compares the saints of Catholicism and Christianity to gods and goddesses. It really shows the similarity to the two almost diametrically opposed or seemingly diametrically opposed belief systems that are actually a lot more alike. So I do like that. Oh, also, I forgot to mention to you guys, I did get a new office chair, and it is in the color of blue, and I love it. So be jealous. Just saying. Anyway, and you'll see Jelly in the background here. He goes on to say, and I love this part, once people outside of paganism can relate spells and magic to something they may have done personally, the concept is no longer as scary. Once something as arcane and secretive as a spell is defined as my tradition's way of saying a prayer, much of the unknown is dispelled, and we can build a dialogue with those who have difficulty accepting nature-based paths as valid religions. And this is kind of what I want to do with, or kind of my my intention behind Christo-Paganism.com. If you haven't gone there before, I haven't really been on there as much. Um, in a while, I started to get on there today to kind of do some of the background housekeeping items and whatnot, and to look a little bit more into what I can do to make that a more robust website, to make it a little bit better. If you guys have ideas or suggestions on what you would like to see on that website, let me know, and we'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk. Anyway, so yeah, and here's Jelly right here. See, you'll see her up and down all night. Anyway, that's kind of my intention with Christo-Paganism.com, is that, um, you know, people have a difficulty understanding what Christo-Pagans, um, what we believe and how we see things, and they really don't sometimes get that we're not that different until you start to explain things. And sometimes they're like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense," and sometimes they're like, "Well, no, that's not a thing," and no, I can't get on board with that. Sometimes you have the naysayers. Sometimes you have the people that are not naysayers. Let me get this out of the way too. That's the package from my, what you call it, from my camera, and yeah. Anyway, uh, moving on. At the bottom of page 72, uh, he says, one part of magic that is not usually focused on in many books and classes is that magic is any change caused by your will, including internal changes. So, even he's talking here, even if you're not a spellcaster, if you're not constantly doing spell work, if you're not constantly in ritual, you know, you're still a witch. Um, Instead of working on the things outside of you that you could change, you're working on the things inside of you that are changing. So, yes, even if you're not actively doing spell work, you're actively doing magic. So, anyway, moving on to the top of page 73. In that sense, if you choose this path of the witch, you may not necessarily be doing spells and rituals all the time, but you are undeniably, uh, you will undeniably be doing magic. Power. Uh, Magic is a part of each breath we take and each action we make. Love that. Pretty cut and dry, straightforward. Love it. Then he goes on to the three minds, and I didn't know this was necessarily a concept. I had an idea of this, like the three minds I knew about, but I never saw them in this way, and I really appreciate this. The first is the conscious mind, and he says about this. That is the mind most familiar to us. The conscious mind contains the personality and the ego identity. The part of us that is conscious, awake, and handling details of the day-to-day life is our conscious mind. So us being here talking. He goes on to say at the bottom of the paragraph, though linear perception is necessary for our day-to-day life, it limits our abilities to process large amounts of information or energy, the very stuff of magic. The conscious mind is also called the middle self. Okay, so we have the middle, which means that we're also going to have an upper and a lower. So, common sense, using my conscious mind. And he says the second part is the psychic mind, is both the key and doorway to your magical talents. This part of you has a greater natural ability to process energy and information. Intuition is opening up to the information available in the universe by accessing psychic ability. Okay, so we know what intuition is. Um, it's psychic ability, knowing things before it's going to happen, your gut instinct. And he also says in the following paragraph that it is part of the lower self, the lower mind. But we're going to get there. Um, I want to take a little sidebar. He has a little snippet here that I want to read. We all have an intuitive ability. We are all psychic. Some learn to use their abilities to a greater degree. And that's one thing that I like to tell people about. Um, Whenever they say, "Well, I'm not a natural psychic. I'm not a natural witch." I, something like that. It just means that you're not prone to having the psychic connection as strong as some others. Just means that you have to work at it. You got to work at it a little bit more than some other people do. And that's okay. It doesn't make you any less of a witch. I'm sure um, there's hedge witches out there that can grow a plant way better than me. They will know the ins and outs of all those herbs way better than I will, and they are just rocking it. However, they may not be good tarot readers, or they may not be um, skilled at tarot reading. Meanwhile, I love to be out in the garden, but I can't grow things worth crap most of the time. And I'm a fairly good tarot reader, so yeah. We all have those natural abilities, those things that come naturally to us. Um, but whenever it comes to intuitive abilities, some people say, "Oh, I don't have the gift," as if it's something that you were born with, or without. No, we're all born with it. It's just how much have we taken to making sure that we exercise those abilities. So there is that. Anyway, moving on to the next paragraph. By relaxing our conscious mind, we can move through the doorway of our personal subconscious in and into the great unconscious, a realm of greater awareness and insight. Unfortunately, we are not often aware of it, hence the term unconscious. After hearing this, many desire to raise their conscious ego self and instead live in this world of intuitive knowing, but each balances the other, serving an important need. The reason I had this underlined is, and you're probably going to know exactly what I'm going to say, is we can't witch all the time. We have to do the mundane things. We have to do the dishes. We have to do the laundry. We have to dust off the house or dust off the altar. We can't just sit there navel gazing all day long, unless that is totally your calling. Most of us cannot, and most of us it is not um, a good thing for us to do that. We have families, we have commitments, we have things that we have to do in the mundane life. But we get this urge to stay in the in the unconscious, in the psychic realm, and stay there because it is a fun place to be. It is a good way of feeling, and sometimes you need a break from the mundane. Just gonna say it. Sometimes life sucks. Just gonna put it plain and simple there. Excuse me. Moving on. He says the psychic self is also called the lower self because it is seen as more primal and instinctual, acting before releasing things out. So we have the conscious, and then we have the unconscious, the psychic self. And then we'll go to the next one. I think it's the next one right here. We'll see. I'm just gonna read these because I didn't write little notes. I just underlined, which is you can't tell in there, and you probably can't tell there. Anyway, take my word for it. I underlined things and did not write next to them why I underlined them, but yeah, I kind of know. Moving on. The greatest job of a psychic is playing the role of intermediary between the conscious and the divine mind, the third mind. Okay, the divine mind, that's it. The divine mind is the aspect of the creative spirit within us, connecting us to the greater whole. And I kind of love this, the way that he describes this here. I'm kind of fanboying over here. But whenever he says the aspect of the creative spirit within us, that makes me think of the Namaste, the God in me. What's the actual translation? Is the God in me recognizes the God in you. It is a beautiful way of, saying hello, saying goodbye, all that stuff. It's a way of recognition that you are divine and so am I. Or I am divine and so are you. And recognizing that. Excuse me. Then he goes on in the latter part of this paragraph, middle and latter part. I'm going to go on for a couple sentences here. Our personal divine mind is the level of the superconsciousness, or what is called the higher self, or older self. It is a greater view from its position, spiritually speaking, than the ego self. The higher self can see where we've been and where we are headed. Sorry, I almost lost my place. Like the lower self, it is not bound by linear time. In fact, it is simultaneously aware of all things and times because the conscious mind would have difficulty processing so much information. Our divine self gives information in small bursts. The divine self gives information in small bursts of insight, epiphanies, and revelations. Or the higher self can use the lower self, the psychic mind, to relay messages which take shape as dreams, symbols, or a flash of intuition. However, such messages need to be decoded through our cultural and personal symbol systems in the collective unconscious and personal subconscious. Okay, so basically, you have the higher self here, okay, the divine self. Then you have information that gets either trickled down to the conscious self. Okay, I hope I'm making sense with this. So higher self, conscious self, psychic self. Okay, higher self can trickle down things to the conscious self, or it can go from the higher self to the psychic self and up into the conscious. Does that make sense? It makes sense to me. And he has is that showing up for you guys? He has a drawing here of, this is the divine self, this is the psychic self, and this is the conscious self. Okay, I don't really like the way that he does these little circle things, because yeah, I would rather, if he did something like this, that he would describe it kind of like a circle inside of a circle inside of a circle, or something like that, or have like some bridgeways or something like that. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the the figure really matches the description, because it doesn't have that upper, lower, and and middle self as the top, middle, bottom, respectively. It doesn't really click for me. I can see why he did it, but doesn't kind of doesn't jive with me. Anyway, at the bottom of page 75, I got to get moving on this, guys, because I'm getting behind here. Um Bottom of page 75, a spell is like giving a very specific request to your higher self, along with all the necessary building blocks. Excuse me. Let me try this again without getting a little gassy there. It's the chai tea, I'm telling you. A spell is like giving very specific request to your higher self, along with all the necessary building blocks to bring the change into life. The higher self, connected to all higher selves everywhere, to the entire spectrum of life in the universe, can coordinate and help fulfill our spell. I like it. I like the way that he describes this, and I really appreciate that. I no further comment. I like the way it's worded. I think it's worded in a way that is very succinct, very plainly put, and doesn't doesn't rub me the wrong way at all. Page 76, I have one note. It's towards the bottom. You don't need candles, robes, spells, and herbs. You don't need to know the definition of magic. So, basically, all of the stuff that we have, we don't need. And even though just about every witchy book out there talks about the items, the goodies, the fun stuff, you don't need it. Yeah. Yep. I don't need the wand. I don't need the bells. Well, I don't have any whistles, but I wouldn't need them. I don't need special clothing. I don't need an athame that is hanging on the wall here. No, I have them because I want them and because it makes things easier. Um, and I think they look pretty. And I'm okay with things looking pretty. Just saying. So then he goes into the 3 requirements. It says, the goal of the practitioner is to bring the 3 minds into harmony, into alignment. Once you have a good relationship with them, magic is much easier, regardless of the form of magic you practice, from pagan rituals to creative visualization. There are some common steps to follow to align the 3 minds. Along with the 3 minds, or aspects of self, there are 3 other requirements. First, you must have strength of will. Do you desire the outcome? Love it. He goes on to say in this paragraph, part of magical training is to be able to access these feelings, to muster the energy whenever you need it, yet remain calm and centered. Okay. So what he's talking about here is you have the desire for something, but you're not getting overly worked up. Excuse me, itchy nose. You're not getting overly worked up. You're remaining calm. You know your desired goal. You know how you want to get there. You're determined, and you know what you want the outcome to be. And you know how much you want it. But you're not going to get worked up about it. Remaining calm and collected, centered, is how you get what you want, especially in witchcraft. Being erratic gets you erratic results. Second, You must have a clear intention. Very important. In this paragraph, later on it says you must have a specific idea of the desired result. You can form the idea through visualization in your mind's eye, through the power of the word, either spoken or written, or through knowing what you want. Plain, simple. And it is at this step where we can qualify our intentions. In magic, we tend to focus on the result, but not necessarily how it manifests. See, whenever I'm doing spells, I focus on not only how I want it to turn out, I also kind of tell it how I want it to work. Or I may put in there what I don't want it to do. So I do work that stuff in, and this is the scientific part of me that says, hey, I want to make sure that my intentions are not going to cause harm, which he mentions here in on page 78. Now, I will say, if you have the Kindle version, your page numbers are not going to be the same. Just saying. He says, in many witchcraft traditions, all spells and intentions are qualified using the words, for my highest good, harming none. I use different wording, but very similar. But yeah, I do use very similar wording, but not that exact phrasing. Lastly, you need a method to direct your energy, your willpower, and your intention. Usually methods of energy direction involve involve some form of altered consciousness, resulting from either a meditative practice or ritual. The reason why rituals and tools are so common in the magical traditions is because they serve the greater purpose of helping us direct our energy and intent. Again, you don't need this stuff. If you are able to direct that stuff without any tools or anything like that, you're good. You do you, boo. It's good. It's good. Anyway, moving on into where he talks about energy. Jelly, no, you can't come over here right now. Okay, she will anyway. We're gonna leave that in. I'm not editing. Nope. Nope. I'm gonna put a little song behind all this, and I'm gonna just I'm gonna put it together and just go. In the part of energy, he talks about many forms of energy exist. Most that we know of fall into the range, a spectrum of frequencies that can be detected via scientific means. The most common is the visible light spectrum, the rainbow. But there are many forms of invisible energy above and below the psychic light, such as radio and television waves and radiation. These energies are all part of the electromagnetic spectrum. We are also aware of a range of energies that are physical vibrations or sounds. Although scientists have agreed on the characteristics and ranges of the quantifiable energies, metaphysicians have known about a whole other range of energies. Yes, witches have been better than scientists for a very, very long time. Okay, we know stuff the scientists are just now figuring out. And we're like, what took you so long? Bitch. Yeah. Anyway, page 79. He says, let's start with personal energy. Personal energy is energy within and emanating from your own being. It is the energy of the body and all its systems, and it includes such things as metabolism, body heat, nerve impulses. It is also the energy from from your non-physical systems, your energy bodies and chakras, or chakras, depending on how you pronounce it. Skipping down a few sentences, the interaction of your spirit and body creates a field of energy around your body. Modern practitioners call this the aura. So I think most of us know what an aura is. I'm just going to put that out there. If you don't know, we can definitely go into more detail. I'll probably end up making a video about it eventually. But yes, the auric field, or the aura, is definitely a thing. In fact, you can take pictures of it. So if you haven't ever seen a picture of somebody's aura, it's really cool. Anyway. See, moving on. To witches, the most important energies to connect to are those below our feet: the earth energies, the energy of the planet and the goddess, the consciousness, and the world that sustains us. Moving on another sentence or two here. Earth energy is not only the energy inside the planet, but also the energy around the planet, such as the magnetic field and grids of energy called ley lines or earth grid lines. Oddly enough, you guys may not know this about me. I know I've mentioned them on videos before. I don't know if I'm pretty sure I mentioned them on both here and the Pagan Perspective. But I listen to a podcast called The Psychic Teachers. Fantastic, two women, fantastic teachers of psychic abilities. Love them. And the episode that I was listening to on the way home from work, which I'm still dressed in my work clothes, I actually picked these out for you guys because I didn't want to be wearing a regular old hoodie for today. So, yay. Anyway, on my way home, they were actually talking about ley lines. They did a whole program on ley lines. Loved it. Find it very interesting. And it's just very cathartic to think about these ley lines, whether they exist or not. Even if it's total bunk, it is fun to think about. So, I don't necessarily take them as whole truth, but I'm not going to rule them out. Moving on. Above the earth is the energy of the sky. Cosmic energy is also a fitting description for this energy because it encompasses the energy of the sun and stars. In fact, the energy of the entire universe raining down upon the earth. Okay, so we have personal energy, we have earth energy, we have sky energy. Okay, moving on, we're going to go to, and here he has a little picture of that, which this camera, like, no matter what camera I get, they don't seem to really pick up whenever I'm showing stuff here. I think it is this light right here that's doing all of it. Anyway, top of page 81. Divine energy is the catch-all category for energies not included in the masculine, feminine, or above-below polarity. There are many other kinds of spiritual energies and beings with many different flavors and descriptions. Witches work with divine energy through the ritual of the magic circle, creating what is traditionally called perfect love and perfect trust. In other words, pure divine energy. What we could call unconditional love is used to create sacred space for our rituals. This energy is all-loving and all-knowing, beyond all polarities, yet encompassing them all. So, it is everything around. Sorry for hitting the mic. Okay. Now, I was going to read exercise 2 to you guys. It is about feeling energy. It's basically making the ball and feeling the energy in the ball. I've done that plenty of times. Or nope, the ball energy is a separate one. Hold on. Oh yeah, this is just bringing your hands close together and feeling that energy there. Um, and then he goes into the ball energy, and then he goes into feeling the aura. So I can use Miss Jelly right here, right about there. Yep. Okay. And then he talks about earth walking as a way of bringing energy into you and also grounding that energy. And I'm going to skip to page 86. This is at the end of the earth walking, right? Of the earth walking one, yeah. So, about midway on page 86, he says, at times we can pick up on energy of a place or person and feel it is bad energy, but it is only energy being used for a less than common or less than good intention. Intention rules everything. Electricity is electricity. It can be used to power a light bulb, a life support machine, or an electric chair. The energy itself does not judge its use, so people who use the energy must take responsibility. Personal, earth, sky, and divine energies can be used to heal or harm, depending on the intention behind the action. And this is one thing that I wanted to talk about. Things are not good or bad, they just are. There is no judgment on how you use it, except by the people around you. um, in saying that, we have to. You looking at the camera, Jelly? We have to take responsibility for the energy that we put out or the energy that we let be around us or around our space, our place of being. Taking responsibility for that, and especially as people who practice witchcraft. Witchcraft is not for the irresponsible. Let's put it that way. And then at the bottom of page 86, levels of consciousness, he says, shifting consciousness is the key to magic. If magic is aligning our three minds, our conscious and psychic minds, with the divine, you need an easy method to quickly align these three separate energies. The more self aware you become, the more the three minds come into alignment. But for now, we need techniques to help that process. Hold on. Oh, excuse me. I thought I was gonna sneeze there. Okay. Top of page 87. By voluntarily changing our state of consciousness, you do not lose consciousness or identity. You still hold your intent, but such a change brings a greater awareness of your own energies, abilities, and power. The ancient Greeks called this state of greater awareness gnosis. For those of you who've been following along, I have been looking into Gnosticism, so really enjoyed seeing that mentioned in here. I'm getting a clogged nose. I don't know why. Anyway, you guys don't need to know. If I sound stuffy, that's why, because I'm stuffy. He says gnosis literally means knowledge, and it referred to the mystical divine knowledge available to those who enter this state. Personal revelations and psychic experiences occur during gnosis. Love that he has that in there. Thanks, Jelly. Just go jumping around, hitting the mic. Only a couple more pages. We're almost done, guys. Jelly, on the lap or not? Got it? Thank you. We're almost done. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. She just keeps on hitting the mic, and I don't like that. Um, he says here on in the middle of page 87, the level that most people in the magical world refer to when talking about meditation, magic, and spells is alpha. Alpha state is right below beta. Alpha is described as being relaxed yet aware, but I imagine you are almost familiar with alpha when you are probably not all that aware when you daydream or otherwise zone out, is what he's talking about here. So I'm going to skip ahead because he does go into a lot of detail on this about alpha states and whatnot. But I kind of want to, for time's sake, kind of rush this along a little bit. It is worth a read. It is very scientifically put in here. And part of me actually had a hard time deciphering the scientificness behind it. I fancy myself an armchair scientist, but in reality, I don't know that much about science. I try to, but it's hard for me with science paying attention and being like, hertz? What are hertz? Oh my gosh, no. So, anyway, I wanted to touch on this real quick, and then we're going to finish out with our homework, and then we will do our closing. Okay. He says Gerald Gardner taught 8 ways to raise power and enter a gnosis state for magic. The use of Eastern practices, probably influenced by his tradition of witchcraft, since he worked in the East for many years as a civil servant. Modern witches use a modified version of this eightfold path. Okay. He talks about meditation. Technique of meditation, clearing your mind and entering a relaxed state. You can often a chant, which is also called a mantra. Hand gesture, a mudra. Your posture, the asana. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, or is it asana? Not sure. Anyway, moving on. Is used in various combinations to help the practitioner stay focused. Sometimes visual focus or a special symbol called a yantra or mandala is used. So, I will do a video on mudras. I have actually a deck of mudras. I don't know if I shared that on my Tarot Talk Tuesday ones. For those of you who want to look, go back and check that out. See if I did my mudra deck. I don't think I did. But it's more of a learning deck for me than it is actually like an oracle deck. It's not an oracle deck. So anyway, I don't know if I ever showed it. If I did not, maybe I will. The next is breath control. Regulated breathing is also called pranayama. I think I may have said that correctly. Probably not. In the East, it relaxes and lowers the body systems by focusing on the movement of the breath. Okay. So this will lower your heart rate. You're focusing on your breath. It gives you something to focus on and control, and it kind of gives you that relaxed state. That is often done with meditation as well. Those usually go hand in hand. Isolation. Aboriginal traditions have a rite of passage where one spends time in isolation on a mountaintop, cave, or forest to induce a mystical experience such as the Native American vision quest. Use this method with caution and guidance. Kind of like that one. Being an introvert, it's something that I'm very comfortable with. In intoxication, He notes here is the use of various natural materials to induce an altered state, including wine, hallucinogens, herbal mixtures, and incense. Going to the bottom of that paragraph, with the possible exception of incense, I humbly suggest saving this path for a time when you have more guidance and training. Um, some people are, on the wagon, and, you know, this is not something that you want to do if that is an issue for you. So I would definitely suggest not doing that. For me personally, never really did that as part of my magical practice. A little sip of wine with what you call it, with like a communion, the cakes and ale, yes, but not as a way of getting into that state. Another one he says is sound, and this is true for a lot of people. Not necessarily me as much, but I do appreciate it. He says singing, chanting, instruments, drumming, and other percussions can lead to an altered state as you get swept up with the tone and the beat. Some will be more relaxing, such as gentle music. Others will be more exciting, like tribal drums. I have so many meditation CDs. So many. And I do enjoy listening to them. But for me to get into that state it's a little bit with sound, but not as much. I get there more by the breath work and um, the quiet still of meditation. Body movement. Movement induces an altered view of reality, and you can include exercise, dance, asana, yogic body posture, shaking, shivering, spinning, hand movements, and mudras. So definitely something that you can do if you are a dancer or somebody that likes to dance. You don't have to be a dancer, but if you like to dance, totally something that you can do. That would be a good thing for you to try. Um, Not really me. I don't move as much as I used to because a lot of my body hurts to move uh, like it used to. So, yeah, there is that. And then he goes into sex. So, let's go ahead and get into this one. The most exciting path to gnosis, quite literally, is using sexual energy. Masturbation and intercourse are great ways to raise a lot of energy and enter an altered consciousness. The major drawback to this technique is if you are entering an altered state to perform an act of magic. It is very easy to get lost in your own or your partner's pleasure. So I'm just going to leave that one right there, hang a lantern on it, and we're going to move on. Not saying I haven't done it. Yeah, just gonna move on by there. Um, this is a family show, even though it's not marked for children. It is a family show. Moving on. The next one he says is pain. It gets more uncomfortable. This method includes scourging, light ritual whipping, piercing, branding, and tattooing. Such practices are part of initiation rituals and rites of passage all over the world. Yeah, nope, not doing it. Sorry, that is not a method for me. Did I just whack you? I'm sorry, baby. Anyway, not a method for me. I'm sorry. If that's your thing, like getting a tattoo and being in that state, fine. I have not gotten any tattoos. One day I will. I've never been branded. I don't enjoy whips and scourges. Um, yeah, it's just very much a no for me. I'm sorry. So yeah, and piercings, I don't have any piercings. So, and he says at the bottom of page 91 here, once you master the basics safely, you can explore the other techniques. The main thing I want to say about ones like the intoxication, um, sex, yeah, and the pain one. The other ones kind of, but not as much. The main point I want to say is be safe about it. Um, he does mention it in here, and I do appreciate that he does that. Um, he doesn't really mention it for the sex one, but being safe, practicing safe sex is big. It's huge. It's something that you definitely need to do. Intoxication, same thing. Is you there is a fine line between when you reach that state uh, of drunkenness, or you go from that state of um, being, in that meditative type of state, the alpha state, to being drunk. And it's a fine line, and you have to be safe about it. Same thing with pain. If you're not safe about it, things can go awry very quickly. So do take that with guidance. Same thing with isolation. That one, if you're isolating in your home, not a big deal as much. If you're going out into the wild, be careful. Know what you're doing. Plan this stuff out. You're a witch. You're no dummy. So, he has new assignments. Yay! Like I said, the exercises 2 through 6, which is the ones he says to do. Complete and record your experiences in your Book of Shadows. Continue with exercise 6, earth walking, as often as you like. Um, yeah, I've done most of these. Some of them, like the one, which one is it? Oh, the pushing and pulling energy. That one I haven't really done with another human being. So, yeah, I might try that with my boyfriend. I don't know. Don't know if he'd be up for it. Also, the auric feeling, or the feeling for an aura. I can do that with Jelly. I don't need to do that with him. But what, baby? You gotta calm down. We're almost done. Calm it down. Okay. And she's a little pissed now. Anyway, moving on. He also says to continue the assignments of daily journal. Write 3 pages a day. And then he gives a tip here, and I want to read the tip. Be conscious and aware of your psychic mind, as manifested as your own inner voice and sense of intuition. Be open to it. Invite it into your life. Expect it. Realize that you are psychic. Psychic means listening to the voice of your soul. We can all do that. Ask your intuitive psychic voice for advice, from important life questions to silly, inconsequential ones such as who is on the phone when it rings. Listen to it, follow it, record your experiences. The more you do this and feel vindicated that your psychic voice was right, the stronger it will get. So, again, I'm probably going to do some of the exercises here, the 2 through 6, but I've already done many of them. But you know what? I'll give it a go again. Another thing that I need to continue doing is trying to write those journal pages. Again, it's really hard for me to do that, to sit down and do that. But let me know if you stay there. Let me know if you've done these exercises. Maybe this is your first time going through this book. Maybe you have never done any of these types of exercises before. If you have, what are your experiences? If you haven't, sorry, I got fur from jelly. If you haven't done these before, are you willing to give them a try? And, always comment down below. And while you're down there, hit the subscribe button and whatnot. In the meantime, do tell me if you like this new camera. I think it is this light that's really, yeah, it's this light that's really washing me out. See, you can see that. Yeah. So I think this light needs to be turned off. Oh, that's going to be a bitch. Anyway, until next time. Tomorrow, join me tomorrow. Tomorrow is Christo-Paganism Sunday. We're going to be talking a little bit about Candlemas or Candlemas in bulk that is coming up here in the Northern Hemisphere. So, and that's the calendar that I go by, so, because that's where I live. Anyway, we're going to be talking about that and some things that you can do. And, yeah. I'm just going to hit lightly on it. It's not going to be a long video. So anyway, let me get off here because I've rambled far too long. Until next time, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye.